Florence flooding overwhelms North Carolina. And that was from USA Today. The overall flooding and the disposition of the weather in that region of the country in North Carolina is just starting, and it's, hopefully there will be some relief that will happen and stop. I'm actually concerned about some dams that are expected to be breached, and once, if that happens, I think there was a couple of dams. There was one dam in particular, and I put it in what's in the news later on, that's only 3 feet away from being breached. And they expect that overall 3 feet of water to flood in today. And so there may be a breaching of a dam. And then that's going to be major problems. So you've been hearing about it. So that's now the real problems of the hurricane is going to really start to manifest itself. And it's going to continue to escalate before it starts to, until the water recedes. And then the damage and everything else can be, it's now still in the very destructive phase, because not everything from the overall hurricane is finished and done. Now you're going to have rivers that have been overflowed and everything else. Water is now that water is going to have to go somewhere. All of the sewage is back. Drainage is back. So water has to go somewhere. The soil is saturated. So here it's just beginning. It's the prolonged thing here. So check out that article. We'll touch on some of that today as some of the reasons why you prepare. Next, I posted from YouTube from a criminal broadcast station, commonly referred to as CBS News, a YouTube video about Florence. Check out that. Next one is, I got this one from The Hill, and this was from celebrity figurehead Lindsey Graham. Trump will consider moving troops out of South Korea if North Korea is playing him. So, celebrity figurehead Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, on Sunday said celebrity figurehead President Trump previously came close to pulling U.S. troops out of South Korea, and added that the Trump will reconsider doing it if North Korea is playing him. Well,
North Korea or South Korea?
North Korea. If North Korea is
troops out of South Korea.
And he said, why would that happen if North Korea is playing him? I think what happened, that is a codified language. If North Korea is playing him, that's because they've already had reunification with South Korea. They're not going to say we're going to pull troops out of South Korea, because they're hoping to maintain that overall position. So what they do is they double talk and say, North Korea is playing me, so you know what, we're just going to pull our troops out of here. And actually what I think is that it's actually been positioned that they've actually been told that you need to move your troops. You're done. We're going to denuclearize the whole Korean peninsula. That means you need to leave. And you can take your troops with you because we don't have a threat with North Korea anymore. Huge, huge, huge. So do you think that that's going to happen? I don't. They're going to stay there in this war. I'm going to tell you what I hope happens. Well, I might as well say it now. And Keith, I'm glad you're here. As I'm starting to look at the overall landscape that the U.S., the empire of the U.S. is facing, I would hope, but I know that I don't think the evidence doesn't show and history doesn't show that it'll go this way. But I definitely hope that the U.S. just allows this empire to fall without trying to maintain what they've already, what they can't control and what they can't regain in the position that they can no longer have. If you look at it from everything that's unfolding, we'll take a look at some of that in what's in the news here. It's overwhelmingly apparent, and I hope that overwhelming appearance that is over, where they will just let this dissolve, and it will have and if that happens, it will dissolve something similar to what happened in the 90s in Russia. when the Soviet Union broke up. But it will be far more extensive, far deeper, far more fracturing. It will be, because I think that the Russian situation in the 90s when the Soviet Union broke down, that was a strategical asymmetrical move that was wise. Because what it did was they made it appear as if they collapsed, but what they really did was they positioned themselves for the U.S. and for the U.S. to completely collapse. Because what happened was they realized, how do you beat the U.S.? Well, make them the only superpower in the world, and then they'll overextend themselves.
Hey, Dave.
They'll overextend themselves because they'll think that they have no more competition, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah, go ahead, Scotty.
Hey, good morning to you, man.
Good morning, brother.
Yeah, it's been a while. Listen, I was reading this article, right? Donald Trump was talking about different things. Why are we doing this? Why are we paying for that? He was talking about, for one example, there is I think it's called the THAAD system. It's some kind of missile defense system that is.
Yeah, that's it.
That's in South Korea. That's costing the United States taxpayers $1 billion a year to maintain. Okay. To do what? Protect South Korea? Well, South Korea, from what I've been reading, wants to reunify with North Korea. If the U.S. would just get out the way, do the exact things that, like he first came in, he was talking about, why are we in Afghanistan? Why are we still in Afghanistan? We need to get out of Afghanistan. Why are we in Syria?
Yep.
We need to get out of Syria. But they put the right people around him, and he's not doing it.
You really think about what that means is that you're talking about a person that has actually made a lot of debt, realizes that, you're insolvent. This whole thing is insolvent. You can't do it. And if you listen to what's been said, start blasting at you in all different directions. Okay, so, yeah, I definitely see that, Scotty. Before we go on and what's in the news, it's really a matter of, or are you going to force your way into the coffin? Because that's really what the alternatives are. And I say that because the situation has been put that way, because that's how the paradigm of subjugation in trying to try to entities, right? Because the great creator doesn't make anything that's inanimate. Only man does that, non-living. So, but man has put the letter of the law in. And in the letter of the law, the letter of the earth, Tara, did make the person of the different planets and everything else. Those are living so that they both can be conquered by the system. So what did they do? They gave a personship status in Germany, in Russia, in the U.S., and they said, your name is the United States, the corporation of the United States. Your name is the corporation of France. Your name is the corporation of, and that's where that territory stuff comes in. So with that, they realize that they need to have somebody at the top and somebody at the bottom. And what they like to do is that after so long, they like to switch. So whoever is on top, you're not on top anymore. Because then what you can do is that you actually appeal to the ego and the emotions of those to make that switch. And it's a very easy process, and then the system is never, ever looked at as being the overall root of the problem that you need a cure from. They continue to give you health care and not the cure of it all. So Brother Davis is there in queue. Let me go to Brother Davis before we get back to what's in the news. Brother Davis, Sister Davis, I'm not sure which one that is. It's always good to hear the voice of a friend. How are you?
I needed to hear the voice of a friend, my brother.
Welcome. This service is provided
Man,
by
one of those weeks, man.
PrinceCall.com.
Yes.
Listen, we have
and 3
Go ahead.
participants. in
No.
this
Go
conference.
ahead,
The
Brother
recording
Davis.
has started.
Okay, we
Please
got
announce
into
it,
a state of preparation when we knew the hurricane was coming down on the farm. We did take some loss. We didn't take any major loss. We lost a couple beehives, and we're going to have to reconstruct some of the hive tunnels. But other than that, I mean, we fared pretty well.
Be equally divided and
Fared fairly there. So we appreciate that. But my wife and I have been doing some research on something entirely another level of what we don't see. Remember now, we're living in the most deceptive country in the world. It's no longer governed by the people, for the people.